Hey guys, in this video I'm just going to talk about the Smith of Kitava for the Dawn of the Hunt patch. The new Warrior Ascendancy looks really strong, giga tank. You're not going to fucking die playing this shit, so just kind of give the general rundown why this guy is insane and why the stuff here is so powerful. Basically, you can only use a normal body armor first off, that's the main core thing of this Ascendancy, and then each one of these points here only costs 1, so you could theoretically take like 8, but you're not going to do that realistically. You might take 4, maybe 6, depending, but in-game probably 4. So, lots of flexibility in these nodes. You're probably taking a lot of the generic tanky stuff. Body armor grants increased life. We'll just assume strength still gives max life, so 20% increased strength, that's a crap ton. Fire Res has great synergy on this Ascendancy. 5% life regen, crazy strong, max fire res, fizz damage taken is fire, pretty much can't be stunned clicking this. There's a lot of really strong stuff. I just kind of, This Ascendancy gives crazy amounts of resistances with all this stuff. You're probably only taking the fire res here, but you also have Cold Stoker, which is going to give you a lot of cold and lightning resistances as well. Freeing up a lot of your suffixes, making it really easy to gear in the early game, and then even at in-game, you're going to take full advantage of this extra resistances you're getting. You're going to be able to use better rare items, and you're also going to be able to use more unique items on your build. Very good. Can this even be real? It's time once again for boot.dev. Learn back-end web development from start to finish in Python, Golang, and SQL. The smartest way to learn to code is to make sure that you're never bored so that you can stick with it long enough to reach your goals. The boot.dev Discord community has tons of real humans to help you if you ever get stuck. Learning to code is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Boot.dev's curriculum takes some time and goes properly in-depth on both the theory and the practice. If you're ever completely stuck or you just want to see how the instructor wrote the code, there are solutions available for every challenge on the website. As you go through the lessons, you'll unlock pages in your spellbook, an unlockable cheat sheet of links and notes that you can review anytime. Click the link below and use my code ALKaiser to get 25% off your first payment for boot.dev. Thanks boot.dev for sponsoring this video. And then I would say the biggest strong nodes for this body armor stuff are probably the max 5 fire res. Unless, you find another way to cap your fire res up to 90%. 90 fire res equals 90 max res. With this node, Forged in Flame, crazy strong. And then body armor grants 25% of physical damage. This pretty much will solve, for the most part, your incoming physical damage taken. You're also going to have 90 fire res to complement that. And you're also still a warrior. You're still going to have a decent amount of armor. Several thousand K, maybe even close to 10K, something like that. We don't know what's changed with armor, if anything at all, but we'll just assume it's the current game still. So, if you don't take damage from elemental because you have 90 max res, and you basically don't take damage from physical because you got so much, physical getting converted into fire, and you still have a lot of armor to back it up, you don't really die. There's not many things that can kill you. Very few things are going to kill you, unless you're just running the most absolutely crazy map with like Pen or something like that, but the amount of defensive stuff you have here is way more than what other Ascendancies and what in general the game has to offer you to scale up, because there's very few defensive options in the current game. Another thing to note is leather bindings, 5% life regen. There's like 3% life regen on the entire tree for comparison. This is a crazy amount of life regen. You could probably run blood magic pretty freely, or you could just stack and invest more life regen. There's also a really good base. Probably what I would assume most people are going to use, almost everybody's going to use, is the life regen base, like 2.5%. And then, you can easily scale up your life regen through life regeneration rate and clicking a couple more life regen nodes on the tree, get 10% life regen, up the amp of their life regeneration rate. You probably get like 20% life regen pretty easy, which is an absurd amount in this game. And pretty much only this guy has access to that. The internal layer for crit mitigation, 50% reduced crits. I assume this is additive with everything that is reduced crit. You could, there's like a 20% node in the mercenary area, get up to 70%. You can even anoint this up to like 95%, and basically crit just doesn't do anything to you. You can run all those crit maps, whatever you want, without even worrying about it at all. That's pretty cool. And keep in mind, these are interchangeable, right? It's not hard to respec one node to something else if you need to for whatever content you're doing in the game. Very good. The lightning and cold res ones probably aren't used. Maybe early game, but realistically, you just want to have the fire res one, if any, if even at all. And then dedication to Kitava, cutting chaos damage. There's not that many things that do that much chaos damage in the current game, but let's say, I don't know, maybe you're fighting like the ritual boss or something. He does a hefty amount of chaos damage. You can just click this in for that boss and then click it out when you're done. Very nice for that kind of situational thing. So a lot of flexibility here to solve whatever exactly you're doing in the game. Pretty nice. Heavy bracing, 100% increased stun threshold. I messed around with a bit of stun threshold stuff, and you pretty much, like this amount of stun threshold, your things that would stun you, just, they're not going to stun you. Maybe only like the biggest hits in the game are going to stun your character, but this is not quite stun immunity, but it's going to be night and day difference running this while mapping. I think only like the biggest, hardest hitting hits will stun you with a node like this on your character, so very good node here actually if you are getting annoyed by stuns. And just the universally like most OP thing here is the Force and Flame. So the last node here, 4 points to get to. Maximum fire resistance, which there's a ton in the bottom left side of the tree. There's a lot of max fire res to take. And then there are items in the game that increase your max fire res. And you can also take Flowing Metal to cap your max fire res. 90 max res is like roughly like 2.5 times tankier versus 75 all res. You know, there's some things with like pen and then map mods and stuff like that that can change that. But in general, you're not even playing the same game, trust. Whenever you have 90 max res versus 75, it's realistically something that should probably take like a month of gearing, or you know, several weeks of gearing, you know, many weeks of gearing to get to 90 max res, especially max all 3 res, lightning, fire, and cold. But this is achievable in literally day 1. All you need is that stupid Inferno class belt, and you can have 90 max fire res, or 90 max all res. It's really kind of bullshit OP. It's so disgusting. That just makes your character so tanky, right? So if you're equivalent of like a, I don't know, a 2,000 like a 2,000 life warrior, you're now basically a 5k life warrior essentially, right? Relative to the incoming damage. That's how strong that node is. It's insane. So that node, this is like just kind of the seal of the deal, kind of become OP. The only real downside of this Ascendancy is seemingly, other than we don't know what tempered weapon does, could be quite OP, honestly. We don't know, but it's just like tons and tons in stack defense. But that also can be good, because that doesn't mean, you know, you don't have to play maces on this. You can play whatever you want. Maybe you can play spears on it. Maybe that actually makes sense, some kind of spells or minions or whatever. But no matter what archetype you're playing, they can make use of these stats for sure. So universal ascendancy, just dependent on, you know, where it is on the tree in the bottom left and what you want to play. But universally very strong. You can pretty much do anything with this Ascendancy. Just Giga Tank Man. And just plug in whatever kind of build you want to play on it. So this is basically what I'm going to be playing on hardcore. You play this on softcore if you don't like dying also. Looks really strong, really tanky. Crazy Giga God tank right here for sure. And yeah, looks good. OP.